Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. There are 52 new cases of COVID-19 in Saskatchewan. 6 of those are in the northwest, with 4 in the immediate Lloydminster area. 412 cases are active in the province, including 33 in our zone. There are 43 people now in hospital, with 2 in the northwest. More than 1.4 million doses of the vaccine have been administered, with almost 87,000 in our zone. The Thorpe Recovery Centre unveiled their new Serenity Garden on Wednesday. Jace Mackey has more on the project that's 7 years in the making.
Both Lloydminster MLAs were on hand to cut the ribbon and open the new therapeutic space. The garden is meant to give clients a chance to relax and enjoy nature.
Before the garden became this, our clients would be walking the gravel road that's out in front of our place to get their daily walks in, or around the building, which is boring and sad. You know, it's not very exciting to look at.
A 1-kilometer walking trail surrounds the garden that is located near a pond and features a fire pit, waterfall, and lots of fruit trees and flowers.
So we actually recently got a few beehives that are on loan for us, and I believe it's 25 fruit trees that were a donation for our garden, and we're really excited to see what happens next year as we get to produce the fruit and then use them for our own programming and enjoy the fruits of our labor.
A former Thorpe client we spoke with shared how important this space will be for people at the recovery center.
Back when I was here, we didn't have an area like this to go, and it's just nice. People are going through some troubled times, and it's nice to be able to go and sit and regroup and talk to your fellow mates.
This is only phase 1 of the garden. The next phase will include a gazebo that will provide shelter from rain or intense sun while allowing outdoor programming to continue.
So what we intend on doing is having a bridge that goes between the 2 ponds here, so then we can access a 3-season gazebo that we could then do more group work outside. So if it's rainy, we can still enjoy the time outside. Except for this drought year, there's usually mosquitoes everywhere. It's a screened-in area, so then we can still have fresh air, be outside, and have an extension of our beautiful facility out here.
The Thorpe Recovery Center thanks the public for their support, as funding for the Serenity Garden came from grants and donations from the local community. For Primetime Local News, I'm Jace Mackey.
The 3rd annual U-Pick session put on by the Cheesery is taking shape as the event continues to grow in popularity. Tomorrow's event will be the first one of the year, as it has been delayed due to the weather and dry conditions, but they're eager to get it finally going as they welcome their average crowd of around 20 to 25 guests.
We will have them throughout the summer, usually about 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the flower availability and the weather, of course. And we have it right up until frost, so usually about the 2nd weekend, hopefully, into September.
These types of events are for people to get creative in making their own bouquets, touring the garden, and experiencing a new variety of flowers you may not find in other common gardens or greenhouses.
It's just a fun way to be creative and use some of those creative juices when you get to see and experience walking through the gardens. It's a nice experience just to walk around, and it always kind of puts you in a different state of mind, which I think is really, really nice.
More information on current and upcoming events can be found on the Cheesery's Facebook page. Now let's take a look at your stock market prices for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
Between feelings of isolation and difficulty with this year's growing season, farmers are in a difficult position and many feel higher levels of stress. Those within the industry are hoping to provide support for producers. Our Jillian Code has more.
Prolonged drought conditions have rocked farmers all across the prairies, with the government of Saskatchewan estimating that the majority of the crops in the province are rated as poor to fare. These conditions are an added stress that farmers are having to deal with. The Do More Egg Foundation is hoping to help producers cope.
Our organization started up because there was extreme stress in producers across Canada and things like that. And with a year compounded like this on top of, just kind of coming out or finding a new normal after COVID, and the stress that went in, like that we were experiencing before that, and then during COVID, and then now with an extreme drought that we're experiencing right now, all of these things are just absolutely compounding on top of our farmers.
A 2016 study from the University of Guelph found that 35% of producers met the criteria for depression. 58% met the criteria for anxiety. Those numbers are partially credited to the isolation that people in agriculture face. Stewart says the COVID-19 pandemic made matters worse.
We didn't have our conferences and our trade shows this spring and this winter, and there's a very real grief that went along with that. It's too easy to say, we'll just hop on a Zoom or whatnot, but nothing can replace that physical contact, the handshake of, someone you haven't seen since last conference season and things like that.
Do More Egg hosts a virtual Talk It Out workshop which aims to connect people in the industry with others who are also experiencing stress. Stewart says everyone is welcome for the talks.
Prevention is key, early intervention is key. So coming just when maybe you've run out of healthy coping strategies, or you're just not seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, or feeling it compound, absolutely those are the places to come, especially to our Talk It Out sessions. They're not professional one-on-one counseling sessions. They're an opportunity to connect and understand that other producers are going through stress as well. So building that community and, working on our resiliency together is a great place to come to chat about that.
The government of Saskatchewan also has a farm stress line that producers can call at 1-800-667-4442. Jillian Code, Primetime Local News.
Now let's take a look at your ag prices for today. Now here's Shelby Clark with a second look at your weather forecast.
Thanks so much, Connor. Now taking a second look at your weather forecast here, we're going to look at temperatures across the region here. Here on the Alberta side, Edmonton is sitting at a high of 29 and Lac-La-Biche is at a high of 28. Cold Lake's a bit cooler at a high of 23, and Bonnyville and St. Paul are at a high of 26, while also in Vermilion. And Provost is at a high of 27 and Wainwright at a high of 24. But in the Lloydminster, Vermilion, Wainwright, and Provost area, we are getting some heat warnings across that area here and there. But so just make sure you're watching out for that over the weekend, so we'll get a lot warmer. Here on the Saskatchewan side, up in Isle Cross at a high of 26, Green Lake's at a high of 25, and Meadow Lake's a bit cooler at a high of 18 there, and St. Walburg's at a high of 24, while Maidstone and North Battleford at a high of 21 and 20. But now taking a look across the northern region here, it is a bit cooler with Grand Prairie and a high of 26 and Peace River a high of 27. They are still beating us though here in Lloydminster, and high level is also at a high of 27, while so is Fort McMurray, and Slave Lake is at a high of 24, and Fort Chipron is at a high of 26. And over on this side here, Uranium City and Stony Rapids are at 24 and 26 degrees. Wollaston Lake and South End and Flin Flon, Buffalo North and La Loche are all at 24 degrees, as you can see, and La Ronge is at a high of 27. But now taking a look at our southern region here, they are a little bit warmer up in those plus 30 temperatures, while Lethbridge is at a high of 33 and Medicine Hat at a high of 34. Calgary, Banff, and Coronation are at the 28 to 29 degree mark there, and Moose Jaw and Estevan, Regina, and Yorkton are also at around that same degree mark, but Swift Current and Kindersley are warm as well at a high of 31 and a high of 32. But now looking at temperatures overnight across the region, Meadow Lake will be seeing a high of 10 overnight with a lot more cloudier skies, and Isle Cross will see a high of 15. So we all will be dropping a little couple degrees cooler overnight, but we will not be seeing any precipitation or anything like that. We will just be seeing some cloudier skies. Paradise Hills at a high of 13, and while Bonnyville, Provost, Murnum, and Wainwright are at a high of of 14, as well as Pierceland and Unity at a high of 12. Now looking at temperatures tomorrow across the region, as you can see, like I was saying, it will be picking it back up to from a high of 30 down to a low of possibly a high of 27 to most places. So make sure you're going out there and enjoying that nice weather across the region. And as we look at temperature, the 7-day forecast here with temperatures here in Lloyd, Friday and Saturday we'll be seeing a high of 28 tomorrow and Saturday with a high of 29. So we will be picking it up, and make sure you're enjoying that nice weather this weekend for the long weekend here. And on Sunday we will surprisingly be seeing a high of 35. So we're definitely moving up on Sunday and moving into that plus 30 temperatures with a mix of some sun and cloud. But next week we will be starting off on Monday with a high of 34 and a high of 32 on Tuesday. And Wednesday and Thursday we'll be going back down to a high of 29 and a high of 24 on the rest of those days. That is a second look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
I'm joined here today for Primetime Local News with Bailey Roberts, the Cheer Force Jets Lloydminster Director. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, so registration is now open for teams. What all kinds of teams are there for people to choose from?
So we have quite a wide variety of teams. So we have our elite teams. That is our big competitive teams. They practice 4 hours a week. They compete between 5 and 6 competitions all year long. And they train from, actually we started this year in June and they go all the way until April this year. So we have that side. We have our prep levels, which is a little bit lower commitment. They practice also once a week. And they only do like 3 to 4 competitions, and they practice at 2 hours instead of 4. So it's a little bit less of a commitment. And then we also, so new this year, we have our novice. We've kind of changed it around a little bit. So we do have our novice that is ages 3 to 6. That is one of our teams. They practice once a week and they have 3 competitions this year between September and April. And then we have our brand new novice team that is under 12. So the ages between 8 to 12. It is a non-travel introductory team for anyone that has never been a cheerleader or who has no idea what it's about but wants to get to know what it is. They practice an hour and a half a week and they compete once in Lloydminster.
And when will registration be open until?
So registration is always open. The teams do start at the first week of September. So they may be able to, like our novice team, we will always be accepting the athletes onto it. However, with like our elite teams have already been made for the year. However, our prep teams are still open for registration. And then we would probably accept a few weeks into September, and then we would have to call it for the year.
And where can residents find more info and where to register online for the prep teams?
So if they go under our website, www.cheerforcejets.com, they can actually go under Lloydminster. Our website is separated between Cold Lake and Lloydminster, so you'd actually be able to go right onto the Lloydminster link and click under the prep. Cheer teams and prep, and you'd actually be able to find the information packages and everything like that. So we have all of our information packages separated. So there would be one for an elite team, one for prep team, one for novice teams. So then they all their information is in one spot rather than reading a whole entire book with all the different types of teams, because it can be definitely overwhelming at first. I am also free to contact at any time through email, Facebook, anything like that. And we can always get you in for a tour of our facility as well. Then you can come meet me personally. We do a little evaluation. I can kind of guide you through the fees and everything like that as well. So tours are also always an option as well.
And is there anything different that Cheer Force Jets will be doing this year compared to going through COVID last year?
Yes, so this year we have lots of events planned that we will be doing. We are actually moving our location, so we are getting a new gym this year. We will be moving at the end of August. So that is super exciting. So we'll be doing a nice open house at the beginning of September. So stay tuned for that date. And we will be able to, people can come on in, they can meet me, they can meet our owner Viola, and they can kind of see the gym and everything like that as well. So that's also super exciting. Our competitions, hopefully COVID doesn't get in the way this year. We can compete this year. The girls are really looking forward to it, considering it was a very tough year last year. It was really hard on a lot of athletes, not just cheer-wise, but in general. It was really tough. And coaches, all of us coaches everywhere, trying to think of different ways, our sport, we do definitely have to be next to each other and trying to find different ways for them to tumble and to stunt or even to jump or anything like that. We had to find different ways to do our practices and games and anything. Team bonding is a huge thing with cheer, because you have to be able to trust your teammates. You're throwing people in the air, you're tumbling right next to them, and you got to be able to trust your teammates. So team bonding is super big for us.
And with lots changing with restrictions and everything, has there been more support shown for Cheer Force Jets?
Yes, of course. Yes. It was really hard at first because, people didn't know what COVID was going to bring. Do we put our kids in sports? Do we not? The masks definitely, did help. We had our mask mandate. They had to be separated by 3 feet, only 8 allowed in the gym at a time for a majority of our season last year. So only 8 kids allowed at a time for us in our facility that we are located in now. So.
Is there anything else you want to add for like expanding on some of the plans and events that you were saying earlier that are going to be coming up soon here?
Yes. So we do have our open house that we are going to do. Our parent committee is always also there, a little separate from us, but they also have lots of fundraisers planned. So you'll be able to see those. We are also offering like a trunk or treat this year. So that's kind of a Halloween one that we're going to be doing. We'll be doing like a Christmas one as well. We have lots of new programs for the daytime as well, like a crawlers class, walker classes, and like daytime playtime where parents with children under the age of 3 can come in with them. They can just do some little obstacles and have some free time in the gym as well. So lots of stuff in the daytime now posted as well.
Perfect. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining me today, Bailey.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm happy to be joined today on Primetime Local News by a familiar face who's been with us before. Jack Burnett from the Old Farmer's Almanac is joining us. And Jack, thanks for speaking with us again.
Stacey, it's always a pleasure to be with you and your viewers. You're in a great part of the continent, believe me.
Well, Jack, we want to talk about some of the things that have been happening weather-wise, because that is one of the specialties of the Almanac, is predicting the forecast. Heading into the fall, we haven't had, especially for farmers in our province, 2 provinces, Saskatchewan and Alberta, hasn't been great for a lot of them. Can we expect precipitation coming soon, and what can we expect heading into the fall?
Well, what we see as far as precipitation goes, unfortunately, is kind of more of the same until we get deeper into the fall. We look at the temperatures to be near or above normal, and the precipitation in Alberta and Saskatchewan to be near or slightly below normal, unfortunately. So that's the nature of what we do. As you know, Stacey, and I think many of your viewers too, we use an ancient method, really, combined with modern science to come up with our forecasts. And sometimes they're not really what we'd like them to be, but we always give people the truth. We don't try to fudge things to make them sound better.
So how accurate, Jack, have you guys been with predictions? Is that something that you guys keep track of as well for the forecast?
Yeah, we keep track of that very carefully, actually. We spend a fair amount of time and money, actually, tracking how accurate we were in about like something like 15,000 different places throughout the US and Canada. Over the years, we've been about 80%, sometimes less than that, sometimes more. This past year, we were a little bit less. I think we were around like 75, something like that. I don't have that right in front of me. But it all averages out. We've been we've been running some experiments over the past 4 years in tweaking our formula to account for climate change. So we think we have that figured out. We think we're going to continue to be along that same accuracy line. But you know, it's a funny world, and we're right in the middle of it.
Now, this year has really been kind of a different year for us here. I would say an odd year temperature wise. We don't usually have heat for this extended period of time. We'll get a few really super hot days, but we've had weeks that have been, in a couple cases, close to 40 degrees Celsius. So would you consider this an odd year, or is this just a sign of how things are going to be weather-wise going forward?
Well, it's difficult to say. I think to say whether it's an odd year, we won't know until next year and the year after, will we? But I think it's fairly clear to say that things are changing. One of the things that it's easy to do inland, in the prairies, is to forget that a lot of the weather is driven by the oceans, not just the Pacific in your case, but also the Arctic Ocean. So we hear a lot about that. But so snow cover, reflection, the warming and cooling of the currents and so on, those are all affected by climate change. And how they happen to combine, it's funny. It used to be that, and it still is, that things would kind of go in a low roller coaster. But now when things combine, sometimes it's like all hot or all rain, So the side of the curve is getting higher peaks and valleys. So is it a one of a kind? I doubt it's a one of a kind. But then again, I doubt that in the near future it's going to be really as extreme as it has been.
Now, I know that we can't talk about the winter forecast yet because you guys are keeping that under wraps with the next Farmer's Almanac that is coming out. So we discussed this a little bit earlier. This is coming out, I guess, in a few weeks here now. Tell me about what's in the 2022 Almanac.
Yeah, the 2022 Old Farmer's Almanac Canadian edition. And I was telling you, you have a scoop because your viewers, I think, are going to be the first ones in Canada to actually lay eyes on it. So there
Excellent.
it is. It just came off the press about 3 days ago. It has a lot of the usual things that you see. We have an article, for example, called Beyond the Boards, which is about the background of the 1972 Canada-Soviet Hockey Summit. We have an article called Remains to be Seen, which is about mausoleums and people who have had themselves preserved and other things, which you would think is kind of morbid, but it's really fascinating. The different things that people do. We have an article that uses a term in U.S. courts when they swear people in. They say, "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" So we have an article called "The Truth, the Whole Truth, and Nothing but the Truth," which is about your teeth. We have other ones. We have lots of food articles. We have our gardening articles, of course, as we always do. We have a big article about the Trans-Canada Highway. A lot of people think that the Canadian edition is just a U.S. edition with a Canadian cover, but that's not true. It's different. In fact, the U.S. Almanac is celebrating its 230th anniversary this year, but Canada, our special edition, is celebrating its 40th. So we always have a lot of things like that. We have our essay winners. By the way, one of the winners is from Medicine Hat. Another winner is from Regina. So
excellent.
Prairies did great this year. The topic was a kindness I will never forget, and it was probably the most popular essay contest that the Old Farmer's Almanac has ever had. We got many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of entries, so it's very hard to choose. So congratulations to those winners. And I think that tells us that, with all the crazy things that are going on, there's still a lot of kindness out there going on. So that's all. That's the thing about the Old Farmer's Almanac. We're safe, we're reliable, we're funny. We provide, as our founder said, new, useful, and humorous information. that's one of the things that I think has always left, your viewers, I think, with a good impression of us, and we're very grateful for that.
Well, and that is the one thing, Jack, about the almanac is the fact that it is more than just weather forecasts. It's so interesting to look through all the pages and go over what we just discussed here as some of the topics, and you said the essays and so much more. So if people are looking to purchase a copy, Jack, when in Canada can they place their order and expect to receive it?
Well, it should be out in places where you buy books and magazines. We always try to encourage people to buy locally. If you can support local bookstores, hardware stores, drugstores, big box stores, whatever, please do. If you can't, the best way to get it is on Amazon. That's the fastest way. It's the cheapest shipping. So that's what we recommend people do. So they can actually go, I believe, and pre-order it now. If they don't have to worry about, remembering it, they can just go to Amazon.ca and pre-order it, and they should be all set.
Well, Jack, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much again for talking to us. And I'll hit you up again right before winter so we can find out what we're going to see precipitation-wise and how much snowfall we'll be seeing here for the winter. So I look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Stacey, let's do that. Thank you.
Well, now banding off, we're taking a quick look at your 7-day forecast here once again. On this long weekend, it will be a lot warmer with a high of 29 starting on Saturday with a lot more sun. So make sure you're going out there and enjoying that nice weather, but it will pick it up even more with a high of 35 on Sunday, surprisingly. So we are moving back into those plus 30 temperatures once again, and we will see a bit of a mix of sun and cloud on Sunday as well. So make sure you're going out there and using that sunscreen though, and also staying safe and hydrated. Monday will be starting off next week with a high of 34. So starting off really warm with a lot more cloudier skies, and Tuesday we'll be seeing a high of 31, but we will see less sun on Tuesday and less sun on Wednesday as well when we drop to a high of 26, and on Thursday we'll see a mix of some sun and cloud as well on Thursday with a high of 24.
Thanks for joining us on Primetime Local News. Have a good night.